Chasing does not always look desperate from the outside. Sometimes it looks like one more message, one more explanation, one more chance to prove you are worth choosing. The problem is not effort. The problem is effort that keeps moving after your standard has already been ignored. There's a quiet rule that makes chasing almost impossible. You stop auditioning for access to people who already showed you their level of attention. That rule sounds simple, but it changes everything. Because chasing begins when your attention leaves your own standard and starts begging for a signal back. Most people think chasing means pursuing someone romantically, but chasing can happen in friendships, business, family, status games, and every room where you feel replaceable. You chase when you explain your value to someone who keeps pretending not to see it. You chase when you keep negotiating with silence like silence is a judge. The quiet rule is this: match your access to their consistency, not to your hope. If their behavior is unclear, your availability becomes smaller, not louder. This is not punishment. It is alignment between what someone gives and what you allow them to reach. Chasing becomes impossible when attention has a gate, not a wall, not a performance, not a cold act, but a gate that opens only to consistent respect. The person who chases usually has no gate. Anyone can enter their mind if they create enough uncertainty. A delayed reply becomes a full emotional investigation. A small change in tone becomes a courtroom inside the body. That is the signal leak. The other person does not need to control you if uncertainty already does. Quiet power starts when you stop treating uncertainty as an emergency. You let unclear behavior stay unclear without rushing to solve it with your dignity. The first move is not to pull away dramatically. The first move is to stop adding extra energy to weak signals. If someone gives you half attention, do not pay with full pursuit. If someone gives you confusion, do not pay with a speech. That one adjustment removes the fuel from chasing. You are no longer trying to turn a small signal into a full relationship, opportunity, or identity. People often chase because they confuse access with connection. They think if someone is reachable, they are emotionally available. But a door being unlocked does not mean you should keep walking through it. Some doors only lead to rooms where you keep losing yourself. The quiet rule protects you from that. It asks one question before you invest more. Has this person earned more access to me? Not do I like them. Not do I miss them. Not could this become something if I carry the whole weight. Has their pattern earned more access? That question returns you to reality faster than any motivational quote. Chasing thrives on fantasy. Standards survive on patterns. A person can say they respect you and still train you to wait. A person can say they care and still give you a pattern of emotional leftovers. The quiet rule does not argue with the sentence. It reads the pattern. If the pattern is inconsistent, access tightens. If the pattern is respectful, access expands. That is why calm people seem harder to pull into chaos. Their energy has terms. Most chasing starts with one hidden belief. If I can just be impressive enough, patient enough, or understanding enough, they will finally choose me clearly. That belief feels loving, but it is often self-abandonment in better clothes. It makes your worth depend on convincing someone else to stop being unclear. You cannot build quiet authority while begging for a verdict. The moment you beg, you give the other person a throne they did not earn. The rule removes the throne. Their behavior becomes information, not your identity. When they are warm, you notice. When they are cold, you notice. But you do not chase the temperature around the room. This is the difference between reacting and reading. Reacting spends energy immediately. Reading gathers evidence before giving access. A calm standard does not need to accuse anyone. It simply stops overpaying. If someone can only value you when you are leaving, that is not proof you should stay. It is proof that distance finally made your boundary visible. Chasing hides your boundary because it keeps moving the line. One more message, one more favor, one more excuse, one more exception. After enough exceptions, the other person no longer meets you. They meet your fear of losing them. And fear is easy to negotiate with. It gives discounts just to avoid silence. Quiet power asks you to stop discounting yourself in the presence of uncertainty. You can be kind without being endlessly available. This is where people misunderstand the rule. They think not chasing means acting cold, ignoring people, or playing games. That is not quiet power. That is still dependency, just wearing a mask. The rule is not about making them feel your absence. It is about making your life stop revolving around their inconsistency. You do not withdraw to manipulate. You recalibrate because your attention belongs somewhere stable. The strongest standard is not loud. It is boringly consistent. If they respect your time, they get more of it. If they waste your time, they get less of it. If they communicate clearly, the door opens. If they keep you guessing, the door narrows. That is not revenge. That is stewardship of your own attention. Attention is access to your inner room. When you give it to everyone, you stop having a room. Chasing is often the habit of leaving your own room to stand outside someone else's door. You keep knocking because the silence feels personal. But silence is not always a message about your worth. Sometimes it is just a clear display of their capacity, interest, or maturity. The quiet rule lets silence stay where it belongs. It does not let silence become a command over your nervous system. A person who is not chasing can wait without shrinking. They can miss someone without moving their boundary. They can want an outcome without auditioning for it. That is the real flex, desire without surrender. The world teaches you to chase signals. Refresh the app, check the view, measure the reply, read the face, analyze the pause. Quiet power teaches you to measure alignment. Do actions and access belong in the same room? If someone wants your closeness, they should not consistently create distance. If someone wants your loyalty, they should not train your anxiety. You do not need to call that toxic to make a decision. You only need to call it incompatible with your standard. That word matters, standard. Comment standard if you are done turning weak signals into full-time emotional work. A standard is not a threat. It is a predecision about what your life will not organize itself around. Without a standard, every attractive person becomes a test. Every powerful person becomes a judge. Every room becomes a place where you try to earn permission to relax. That is exhausting, and it makes chasing feel normal. The quiet rule breaks that spell. You do not chase what requires you to abandon your center. If you have to become smaller, louder, funnier, richer, colder, or more available just to be chosen, you are not being chosen. You are re-edited. Real respect does not require you to leak yourself everywhere. It can meet you while you are still composed. This is why people with quiet standards often seem more magnetic. They are not trying to be seen by every eye in the room. They are choosing which eyes deserve a response. Selection creates weight. Chasing removes weight because it makes your response automatic. If they pull away, you move closer. If they delay, you become faster. If they doubt you, you perform harder. That pattern teaches people that your access has no cost. It teaches them that inconsistency earns more of you. The quiet rule reverses the lesson. Inconsistency earns less access. Clear effort earns warmth. Respect earns depth. Reciprocity earns continuity. You do not need to announce this like a manifesto. Let your calendar, replies, and availability carry the rule. When someone gives you vague energy, answer with clean energy. No bitterness, no paragraph, no performance. A simple reply can hold more power than a dramatic exit. Calm is not passive when it is backed by a standard. The hard part is the empty space after you stop chasing. Your old pattern will want to fill it immediately. It will ask, what if they forget me? It will ask, what if someone else gets the place I wanted? Let those questions pass without turning them into action. Not every fear deserves a message. In that empty space, your self-respect starts becoming real. Not as a concept, but as a behavior. You choose not to buy attention with anxiety. You choose not to rent closeness by betraying your own pace. That is the moment chasing loses its grip. You are no longer chasing the person. You are recovering the part of you that kept running. Some people will notice immediately. They may test whether the old version of you is still available. They may send a small signal, a little warmth, a vague invitation, just enough to see if you return to the chase. This is where the rule matters most. Do not punish them. Do not rush toward them. Read the pattern again. One nice message is not a changed pattern. One apology is not a rebuilt standard. Consistency over time is what reopens access. Anything else is only weather. The quiet rule keeps you from worshipping weather. It makes you loyal to climate. If someone becomes clear, respectful, and consistent, meet that with maturity. Quiet power is not about being impossible to reach. It is about being impossible to jerk around. That difference keeps you human. Because the goal is not to become untouchable. The goal is to stop being pulled by every uncertain hand. You still care. You still connect. You still give warmth where warmth has a place to land. But you stop chasing rooms that require you to abandon the room inside yourself. That is the rule. Match access to consistency. Let unclear behavior reduce your availability instead of increasing your effort. Do that long enough and chasing becomes mechanically impossible. There is no fuel left for it. If this hits something real, subscribe to Quiet Power Code and build the kind of authority that does not need to beg. Like the video if you want the next code on how to hold a boundary without explaining it to death. And remember this before you send the message you do not need to send. The quietest standard in the room is often the one people feel first.